Hi, I'm Janelle Barlow. We're going to be talking about taking short breaks so that you don't let the tension build up in your body throughout the day. So you end up feeling like this picture, which is not a very comfortable situation. Don't despair. It's possible to not do that. Let's get started and we'll show you how to work with the idea of circuit breakers so that you can let go of that tension throughout the day. So we call this section relaxing with mind breaks, with short breaks, the power of letting go with circuit breakers. It's the second part of this. We start just by asking a question about Pavlov, the Russian psychologist. Do you know anything about his dogs? Well, he discovered that his dogs produced saliva whenever his assistant walked up to the dog. He was doing research on how much saliva the dogs would produce. And whenever he or the assistant would walk up, they got to the point where the dogs would just automatically start producing saliva, whether or not any food was being brought to them. And Pavlov said, holy cow, or something like that. And he decided that was a lot more interesting to study what eventually became known as conditioned responses instead of studying about dog saliva. Now, like Pavlov's dog, you can condition yourself to relax whenever you hear a cue. We're calling them circuit breaker cues. You won't salivate like the dogs did, but relaxation can occur automatically. So the first step is to choose a circuit breaker cue. And whenever you see or hear or are aware of that circuit breaker cue, it's the signal to do something. So what you could do is you could take in a breath of air, say, I am relaxed. You could tighten your shoulders, relax your neck. You could check your posture. You don't want to do all three of them. It takes too much time. You really want to keep this as a very, very brief relaxation exercise. And then you immediately continue doing with whatever you were doing until you hear your next cue. So if you do this throughout the day, whenever you see or hear your cues, you'll be amazed at how little stress will build up in your body because you're letting go of it. You're having some stress or tension from something that's happened, and then you let go of it. And by the end of the day, I think you're going to be quite impressed with how little tension your body holds onto. So what you need to do is to choose a circuit breaker cue that will grab your attention. So there's lots of things going on in your environment, but you want ones that will grab your attention, and you designate them as a circuit breaker cue. For example, whenever your computer alerts that you have a message, that's a circuit breaker cue. You hear the ding dong, whatever sound you have associated with that. And now you take in a breath of air. I am relaxed. And then you just continue on. Don't close your eyes and go off to dreamland. Just stay there and focused, but you just let go of a little bit of tension. Choose circuit breaker cues that you can't ignore. Some kind of noise, some kind of event, a little girl holding on to her father's leg. You can be sure that that little girl probably does that every time, and it probably annoys the father. So what he needs to do is, here's my circuit breaker cue. My daughter's grabbed my leg. Okay, take in a breath of air. I am relaxed. And he might like to add something onto this one and say, listen, sweetheart, daddy will be right back. Don't you worry. Something like that. You could program your phone's alarm so that it buzzes every hour. And then that would become a reminder to relax. Doesn't really matter what you choose. You just have to choose maybe 3-4 of these cues that go off around your day. You can even choose cues that irritate you. It's fun to experiment with those, like a yappy dog in your neighborhood. And when this yappy dog starts yapping away, instead of getting irritated, which probably is what happens, what you do is take in a breath of air. I am relaxed. Stop thinking about killing that dog. Just relax. Choose circuit breaker cues that really grab your attention. For example, a fire siren or an ambulance. Relax your shoulders and let go of any tension whenever it goes by in your neighborhood. I am relaxed. Now, hopefully they're not going by all the time, but if they go back by a few times a day, it's a perfectly good circuit breaker cue to use. There are so many cues in the neighborhood. They're everywhere. It could be a neighbor who uses a leaf blower. Those things are noisy. Whenever you hear it, remind yourself to relax. Relax your jaw, relax your shoulders, relax whatever it is that has gotten tense. Choose circuit breaker cues that perhaps signal that something stressful is about to happen. For example, you look in your email tray and there's an email from someone that you know is going to be demanding. That's a great circuit breaker cue. Breathe in, breathe out, and then open the email and continue on as you would answering that email or responding to it. Maybe you hear a politician's voice on the radio or on the television. Whenever you hear that particular voice, it drives you crazy. Take in a breath of air and relax. Your circuit breaker cues don't have to be relaxing events. They can be tension-inducing events. In today's world, maybe anytime you hear a story about the coronavirus, you've heard everything you need to hear and you're getting stressed out. Okay, it's a coronavirus story. All right, I can relax instead of getting tense when I've heard that. Literally, they are endless. Just keep them private. I'll give you an example. A woman that I know had a colleague that she worked with on a regular basis, and whenever that she was with that colleague, there was something about his personality that really annoyed the heck out of her. And so she decided that whenever she saw him doing that, she would take in a breath of air and relax. And after a while, the guy no longer was irritating her at that point. You want to be careful not to tell somebody else, another colleague, and say, oh, I use John over there as my circuit breaker. Don't do that. This is absolutely a private kind of short relaxation breaks. So we've gotten to the point where we hear this all the time from our clients who have learned this technique. I myself have used the circuit breaker cues for over 30 years. Some of the ones that I'm using are the same ones that I used 30 years ago. I've obviously had to change and get new ones because the environment has changed, but they can last for a long time. Now I want to finish with a little story. A friend of mine had a person in an office who sat next to her who chewed bubble gum, and he would blow bubbles and then they would pop. And it just totally blew her mind. She was so annoyed with that. So finally she decided she would use that as her circuit breaker cue. So whenever she heard the pop, it didn't go on all day. Whenever she heard it though, she would take a breath of air. I am relaxed. And then the coronavirus hit and everybody was working from home, and she no longer had the popping bubble gum to help her relax. And after the first couple of days, she found herself more tense than she normally was. So she decided she needed to do something to replace the popping of the gum because he wasn't going to be sitting next to her. So she chose another circuit breaker cue, started to relax, problem solved. So thank you very, very much for joining us for this. I hope you'll come back and choose another topic to go through the mind movers, and we'll see you the next time you're at this YouTube channel. Bye for now.